Hey y'all, I'm Byron.
And I'm Margaret, and we'd like to welcome you back to the Beyond I Do podcast. Half the world is composed of people who have something to say and can't, and the other half who have nothing to say and keep saying it. Robert Frost.
Great communication begins with connection. Oprah Winfrey.
Constantly talking isn't necessarily communicating. Charlie Kaufman.
How well we communicate is not determined by how well we say things, but how well we are understood. Andrew Grove.
There's no disputing the fact that communication in a relationship is important. In this episode, we'll be discussing some common communication issues in marriage and how we work through them.
We are not marriage counselors, nor are we mental health professionals. We are simply sharing what has worked in our marriage. Now, on to the show. Alright, issue number 1, passive-aggressive behavior. Those behaviors can be frequent silent treatments, jokes that are actually thoughts, condescending statements, shifting the blame, yelling and screaming over insignificant things. All of this points to poor communication. Possible solutions. Express how you feel up front. Don't wait for a situation to fester before you address it. Tell them what you think and feel about your partner's behavior. Then start a conversation about how you can handle it differently so that it does not cause tension in your marriage moving forward. For us, this occurs when Margaret gets upset.
I tend to be very passive aggressive. So for me, when I get upset, I may get quiet or I'll give short one-word answers. And in my mind, I'm thinking that you are going to know why I'm doing that, and then you're going to ask what's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Does that happen that way?
Nah, it typically doesn't.
It typically doesn't. So what I have found is that that is not the best way to deal with being upset. My daddy said, being mad is like peeing in your pants. You are the only one who feels it.
Yep.
So I am learning to communicate those times when I'm upset. In addition to that, I am learning to, before I communicate stuff, to really think about what I'm upset about and if I need to even say anything.
Right.
Because sometimes I may be upset because I took something the wrong way, but that didn't mean you meant it that way.
Yeah.
So that's I'm learning to that, for one, you are not going to ask me what's wrong. If anything, you might say something and get a short answer, and then you'll say something else and get another short answer, and then I think you realize what's wrong,
I know
and you
upset,
just
so I'm just
let it go. Yes,
because my thing and my thinking has always been like, if I know, I can sense when something is wrong. I already sense it. I already tell you tensed up. I can see it on your face sometimes. So I'll ask what's wrong. Short answer, you sure? All right. And I'm going to leave it alone because I feel like at that point in time, I'm not going to get anything accomplished anyway. So I'd rather let you get to the point where you are wanting to communicate, and then then we'll communicate. But at that time, it's like, well, I ain't getting it out of you anyway, so I might as well just chill out. That's my thinking.
Now, you had a passive-aggressive response here lately.
What that?
When there was a misunderstanding, and we didn't speak anymore that night, just little short sentences. You picked up on the fact that I was upset.
Yeah.
And so that next morning, you sent me a text, and at the end of your text, after you told me that I need to understand when you're joking, it's just a joke. You said, have a great day.
I meant that. I mean, we tell each other have a great day all the time.
Okay, well, maybe you don't know me so well because you can't send me one text and start off with reading me about why I overreacted and then end with have a great day.
That's just general communication.
Okay. Moving on.
That's just general communication. Like, I want to say this. You have a great day, and like we normally do every day. So, that's how I took that. But,
Issue number 2, resentment. Merriam-Webster defines resentment as a feeling of indignant displeasure or persistent ill will at something regarded as wrong, insult, or injury. In relationships, resentment can build up when you hold things inside instead of sharing your concerns with your partner. Mm-hmm. In time, if left unchecked, these things will grow until they come out in a way that makes it even harder to work through. Some possible solutions. Instead of assuming your partner knows you're upset or holding something in because you want to avoid conflict, you should be open with your partner. You need to communicate your concerns to your partner instead of holding them in. And for our example, for my 30th birthday, I wanted to go to Vegas. And neither of us had been to Vegas at that point. And I still am. When I am ready for something, I'm ready. And you tend to like to think things over. I don't know. I wanted to go to Vegas for my 30th birthday, and you were kind of dragging your feet about it for whatever reason. So at the last minute, I made plans to go to Vegas with a friend of mine. I think it was about 5 days before we were leaving that we made the plans. And I knew you were upset. I didn't necessarily know why, specifically why, but I knew you were upset, but I also knew I wanted to go to Vegas. And so you acted as if you had gotten past it by the time I left. But when I got home, apparently you had not gotten over it.
Yeah, no.
Okay, and why was it such a big thing? Why were you so upset?
All right, now, it sounds kind of juvenile now.
I don't think it does, though. I don't think it does.
But my initial, I was thinking, that's something that I wanted to experience together. Mm-hmm. And I felt like, there again with those insecurities we have, and I think at that time we had gone through some other issues around that time. So in my mind, it's like, well, damn, maybe she leaving me or preparing to leave me. So those are things that I could think of in my head while you were going. Now, I mean, I struggle with that too because I was left behind.
And
I was left behind because I had to work, and I was trying to figure out. And my thinking was, well, why couldn't you just wait till I'm off? But I know you wanted to, and I didn't understand the fact that you wanted to be there on your birthday. That didn't make sense to me. So that was the thought process, and that was the thought process. So I was kind of like,
I don't. So, and if you have listened to us any amount of time, you'll know that my memory is sometimes fickle. So I don't remember like the specific dates or anything. I just, and I don't recall, I know your schedule came into play.
Yeah.
But I don't recall you saying, well, I work on this day. Well, what about this day? I recall a no for whatever reason. You didn't say no, but you let me know that it wasn't something that you were entertaining at that moment for whatever reason. And so
I know what it was, because we were going we're going somewhere like at the end of the month, I think, or the early part of July. And I think I was kind of like, well, I don't know if I want to go there and then turn around and go. I can't remember I can't even remember where we were going, but I know we had another trip planned.
And see,
And I was kind of like, well, I don't want to go there. So I was thinking in my head, like, well, if I don't want to go, maybe she don't want to go. But
no,
your ass took off.
I'm always still ready. Set.
Yes.
I'm always ready to go.
Jetted in the jet on my ass.
Yes, I did. But, and you mentioned, and you said now you think it's juvenile, the wanting to experience first together. I don't think that's juvenile at all, but you also did not explain it that way until after the fact.
Yeah, I didn't explain. I didn't express how I felt until after the fact.
Right. And like he said, there were some other things going on at that time in, let's see, issue 3 and issue number 5, you'll hear about those other things.
Okay. So we already see ahead in this.
Yes, this is the one, y'all.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, we're going to hop to it.
All right.
Issue number 3, lack of emotional intimacy or emotional invalidation. Intimacy directly depends on how safe you feel about sharing your thoughts with your partner. Keeping silent about your feelings will ruin the intimacy you have with each other. Yep, I stayed silent about the trip. Yep, I ain't say nothing. Also, keeping silent can be an understandable reaction to being dismissed, ignored, or teased in the past. Emotional invalidation will include using phrases such as, "It's no big deal," "Stop overreacting," or "You're being too dramatic." Possible solution. The best way to give your relationship a chance is to hear and be heard. That is the only way you'll really know what's on your partner's mind instead of trying to read their thoughts. Employ active listening. Hear what your partner is saying, and rather than dismiss it outright, reflect their feelings and show your understanding. I understand that you're feeling frustrated. Now, our example of this is what?
So, and there were layers to this later that we kind of worked through. I was in graduate school, and my classes were on the weekends, and so I knew that 2 weekends a month I had class. And if he wasn't off, my mom would, keep the kids or whatever, because those 2 weekends, my time is blocked. And I think during that time, we kind of started to drift apart. There were several things that happened during that time.
Yeah.
The trip to Vegas, the motorcycle,
Yep.
the motorcycle ride and accident,
Yep.
But the underlying stuff we didn't get to yet. So these are the surface things that are happening.
We were passing stuff along, like agreeing to disagree and just not dealing with it.
Right.
Yeah.
So one of my classmates and I began texting and calling each other on the phone. It was a male classmate. And it didn't go beyond the communication, but emotionally there was more than just two classmates communicating. It got to the point to where I would look to call or talk to this person before calling or talking to my husband. And so that's when I knew, okay, this is not good. This has to stop. So there.
That's it.
That's it. And you'll hear more. But there, like I said, there were layers there that we had to get to, and we'll discuss those.
And when you told me about that, I was surprised, because I think that, I never saw it. And, fellas, they say, your woman can be doing stuff and you'll never know. That's true. Because I didn't see it. I didn't see it at all, but I didn't see it. I know that at the time I wasn't paying attention. We had our issues going on, and I was just, we get in that stubborn mode, and you want things your way, and you're trying to learn and figure each other out how to grow. And at that time we were married. How long? What? 8 years then? 8, maybe 10 years then, somewhere.
Something like that.
And we were still trying to figure each other out.
And there, like I said, there were other underlying things there that came out after the fact. So after the fact,
all those discussions and arguments that you have, and you don't come to a conclusion, you just stop, and then you just move on, and then they come up later.
I think we mentioned it in a previous episode where the comment about once I went the first time and finished my master's, and I said, this is the first time I'm able to take care of myself. And how you misinterpreted what the meaning was with that. And that was the same time. That was the same time. And so that was my master's program that you said that. And this happened when I went back for my specialist. And so I don't think that that had not been exposed yet because of the other thing that happened at that time that we'll get to on number 5.
And you know what? I remember now. I know one of the subconscious things I always had in my head was that because you were an educator, because you were around teachers and principals, and you had professional career, and I just a shift worker, and I just have a job, which it's not a lackluster job, but I'm still in the job. I'm blue collar. So in my mind, I was thinking, well, why would you want to be with me? And then, you find somebody that's smart and intelligent, because, at that time, we just couldn't have the conversation that we have now. So I was thinking, well, she might want to have somebody else intellectually challenging her. So, it's amazing how that dang self-esteem bounces back and forth. Well,
it's around the time you threw my chili out, too.
I was around the chili?
Yeah.
Oh, dang. I just did it all.
You did.
God dog it, boy, I tell you.
All right, issue number 4. Stubbornness, competition, and the need to win. Disagreements will happen, and it's important that the focus is on the resolution and not winning. When a person focuses on winning, it makes compromise nearly impossible. Possible solution. It's important to remember that as a couple, you're a team. Individual wins don't necessarily make your bond as a couple stronger. Your relationship will be stronger when you work together as a team. We both have personal examples.
Yep.
You want to start with yours? I think that one is kind of...
But, thinking about this, I can remember times throughout the years, and not even these examples, but I remember throughout the years when, we were, struggling, trying to make ends meet or whatever, and we would get financial blessings, some kind of how, maybe a tax return or whatever.
Oh. That's been a long time.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And I just recall, sometimes it would seem like it would be a competition between us because you wanted something and I wanted something. And then, I remember this specific time, we went someday where I think we went somewhere separate. And then I would tell you, all right, well, you going such and such, just, please watch your spending or whatever. And you was like, all right, this joker ain't finna tell me what I'm gonna spend. I think y'all went to, I went to the mountains. And when I went to the mountains on my bike trip, y'all went to the outlet.
I don't remember. I remember you going.
Locust Grove, I think it was. And then you had just got.
So you were on a trip.
Yeah. I was
telling me to be mindful of my spending.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I knew you was going to the outlet, and
basically you were pulling rank.
This joke can't go to no outlet and spend $500-$600. No.
Who
She go to
does?
the outlet. She got to ball out.
Who doesn't? That's what the outlet is for. That's why you plan a trip.
Yep.
So, issue 4, stubbornness, is not necessarily something that I display in our relationship. I'm not the stubborn one.
Oh, you're not?
I'm not. I have some stubborn events, but in terms of personality, I'm a little bit more flexible than some of us. One example is when you purchased your truck, and this after the fact, when we talked about it, I got it, but you had started looking for a vehicle, and you expressed that you start looking. We take care of the bank, and then we went. And I remember going to the lot looking at the truck. So in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, when I get off, we're going to go to the lot and get the truck. And so I get text and then call that you're at the lot. So when I get off, I'm going to go by and sign. And I felt like you couldn't wait. You couldn't, and so embarrassing. Because you had me in the dealership acting ugly to the lady. It wasn't the lady's fault. So.
Wasn't my fault either.
Well, we were not communicating effectively.
Yeah.
And for the record, I did send the woman I sent her a card apologizing for my behavior with the Chick-fil-A gift card because I was ugly. I was passive aggressive is what I was.
Yeah.
But after we talked about it, you explained to me that because of your schedule, you felt the need to go ahead and get it done.
Yeah.
Whereas with me, my thing was I felt like I was left out of the loop. Like I don't necessarily need to have say-so in the vehicle that you're picking out because you're going to drive it. Yeah. But I felt like I wanted to be, like that should have been something we were a part of. That's how I felt at that situation.
And y'all understand, she doesn't realize that, like, when I get, and she does the same thing, but when I get, like, focused on wanting something, like, I started looking for a truck 3-4 months before that even came into fruition. It hadn't been that long. Maybe a month and a half or 2. And I started looking online, seeing what was available, seeing what kind of pricing, because I like to kind of figure out, like, okay, when I get ready to apply for a loan or whatever, what kind of money am I looking at? And then seeing what's available. Because I didn't want I didn't want a brand new one necessarily. I wanted it used. Well, and when I was looking for different specific ones, the ones that I thought were nice and would look like me would be out of town, or you have to drive an hour here or go to Atlanta or different places.
Now, I do know how you get hyper-focused on stuff. We've had friends who you were looking at vehicles for them, and I have to tell them, look, before I say something to him, are you ready? Because when I mention it to him, it's on. Yeah. So I know that part, but like I said, it's the going through the process, and right. I felt like even if you would have said, like, okay, I didn't have to be there, but at least let me know, baby, I'm going to get the truck.
And that's
and
what
that
I did.
way
and that's
I
what I did
right.
do, because I think that was when you did the application and everything, and then I think we were riding that Sunday, and I said, well, let me stop over here and see what they got at this lot over here. And I saw the truck, and I was like, ooh, shoot. I hadn't seen one of these, like, nowhere in town. The closest I saw one, but it was like in South Georgia. So I was like, okay, well, let me see what's up with this one. So I had already made up in my mind I was gonna go check on it. the next day.
So, and that was where the lapse was.
Yeah.
Because I knew that you were interested in it. I knew that you were going to look into it. I didn't know you were going to do that without me. Now, the flip side of that, there have been 2 vehicles.
Yep.
One for me and one for our daughter, which I eventually repossessed, and it was for me again. That I came to you for her, and I said, I want to get her something. She's getting ready for school, and I said, I think I want to get finances. We get her something nice that's going to last her. And you said, I would rather get something we can pay for. And initially, I said, okay, to you. But I still knew in my mind what I was going to do.
Yep.
And I did that. And that was my bad.
Yep.
And then the second time was when I went back to work after my mom passed.
Yep.
And I was there for, I went back in January of 2017. And March of 2017, I said, I want a car. And you said, well, you want a blah, blah, blah. And I had already seen what I wanted. And I showed you. And
You said,
I had already contacted the dealership.
You said, I'm going tomorrow to get
Yep.
the car.
I had already done all that.
I'm going tomorrow to get the car. You going with me?
And I regret both of those moves because they were not done properly. But I was set in my ways. I knew what I wanted to do, and I was going to do it. So I acted like you a little bit. I was stubborn.
Oh, okay. So you just had the stubborn behaviors, and I'm just stubborn.
Yes.
Okay, all right. So
You understand it.
Oh, okay.
Okay. There we go. Communication.
Dr. Phil, my man happy, ain't nobody happy. So
That's right.
All right. Issue number 5, not communicating your needs. Boy, this is me right here all day long. All right. When one partner has a need or request and it does not get expressed, they expect the other partner to be able to read his or her mind and know what they need. You did not marry a superhero with mind-reading ability. Possible solution. Tell your partner what you need and be okay with the idea that sometimes they can't give you what you need. An example of this.
So, remember when I said you'll hear more? We're at number 5.
Yep.
This was around that same time.
All right. I got to tell it.
You want me to tell it?
No. Well, it's on the book of the face, and this young lady was took a picture posing on a motorcycle, and I'm a motorcycle fanatic. We happened to go to school with each other, and we started communicating through the messenger, and then we started communicating through the phone, texting and calling each other. Like I said, we had all these other issues going on, so around the same time that you were communicating with the classmate, I was communicating with this young lady. And
this actually, you know what? This happened before that.
It did before
It did. So, because this was during my master's program. Because everything came to a head before my graduation.
Okay.
And my graduation was in Savannah. So, on the drive, we had it out.
Yeah.
Because my thing was, this entire episode is probably going to blow the minds of some. And then others are going to go, see, I told you so.
Yep.
But our friends, the people in our circle, they understand that our relationship is what it is. Like we are you don't usually see one without the other. And it's not because I don't trust you so you can't go with your friends. It's because when it comes down to it, I want to be with you before anybody else. I want to spend time with you. And so my thing was, we are not fixing to go through all of this. All this stuff comes to light, and we're going down here. I had friends graduating. Also, my parents are coming down. My thing was, we're not fixing to have all this stuff come out and then go down here skinning and grinning with each other like nothing has happened. There needs to be some type of resolution. And so that's all the way to Savannah. We were going because of that, and we had worked through it. And then it was a few months after that that my classmate and I were communicating.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think that we came to a resolution, but that resolution fixed that portion of the problem.
Yeah.
One of the things that you said was that, and it threw me off guard when you said, we were going back and forth, and you said something about missing your dad. And it wasn't until later that was one of the things that she, you connected with her because she had lost a parent.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that was another connection that you had.
And when I think back to it, now these are definitely before therapy days.
Oh gosh, yes.
Definitely before the therapy days, before seeking any counseling. And as you can see, that counseling has helped us both get over some hurdles because, you're fighting with identity issues, you're fighting against yourself, then who you're becoming.
Right.
And that is the major hiccup that I think stunts a lot of people. And it stunted us for a long time.
And it's not like those things happened and we were like, oh, well, it's over, and we kept moving forward. We still work at making certain that those things are not likely to happen again.
Yeah.
So that means that there has to be some uncomfortable conversation sometimes with each other,
Right.
so that someone else doesn't become the ear that listens to those things.
And you might have to, while you're traveling to different places, cut the radio off, cut stuff off, and talk to each other. That'll help, definitely. And it, when I blurted out about my dad, missing my dad and stuff, there again, there was stuff that I was not dealing with. And
had not shared with me.
Right. Didn't share it with you. So I'm holding that stuff in. And then I'm talking to this other person who has something of interest. And then, now I'm not sharing my feelings with you. So I'm not giving you the opportunity to even,
Right.
It's almost like, you're like, well, you make up in your mind, well, I can't talk to her because she's not going to understand. So let me find somebody else to talk to. And, you're not even getting the opportunity to understand or not.
Right.
You just make that decision in your head.
Right. And for me, it was, I think that some of it was still the residual hurt, because like I said, the classmate happened after.
Yeah.
So there was still some residual hurt there. And just feeling like, well, if you can't open up to me, then that's fine. You don't have to. Don't worry about it. But once those things came out, once we started to address those things, and like I said, it's not the type of thing where, oh, well, that's done now, check it off and move forward.
Yeah.
We still work hard at making sure that we're communicating with each other. And I know sometimes I can be a handful. And I need reassurance, or I need understanding in situations. So I may ask questions. I may, but it's just I need clarity and understanding because of childhood trauma and things like that. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And on another note, those things, when you don't deal with them in the previous discussion, then it's gonna come back up in the next discussion,
Yeah.
the next argument, and then you find yourself in competition bringing those.
Right. You have.
Well, you did this.
You have a list of things.
Yeah, you got your list
yep.
already in your head, and so you're bringing it up constantly, and nobody's dealing with it. So.
Right.
The best thing to do is just, communicate those needs and deal with it.
Yep.
Instead of, making those passive aggressive statements.
Yep. Or turn into someone else.
Going off or definitely don't turn to nobody else because they're not there to help you. They just there to get what they want out of the situation. So.
All right, our final issue, number 6, ignoring bids for connection. When one partner feels lonely or needs attention or connection, he or she may try to initiate a conversation or reach for a hand to hold. This bid or action may be overlooked and create a feeling of rejection or loneliness. A possible solution would be to learn to be attentive to your partner's cues and act on them. Check in with each other on a regular basis to maintain a sense of connection. So, warning, if you are, this is an adult conversation at this point.
Yep.
So the personal example here, as we discussed in the previous episode, I had some issues in my past, and I had an aversion to being touched. And there were times when, just to be physically touched, for somebody to touch my hand or hold my hand, like there was physical pain that came along with that because of not dealing with some traumatic issues that had occurred. As a result of that also affected how I accepted intimacy and physical touch from you. And there were times when, like, you would try and embrace me, and I'd tense up.
Yeah.
Tensing up was, like, sometimes I'd pull away, but I would tense up. I was not a big kisser. I didn't like to kiss at all. And then during and after sex, I wanted very little, anything that was intimate or any type of embrace. I just, no, I didn't want any of that.
Right. And, and now mind y'all, it wasn't like an all the time thing, so it wasn't like I just got rejected all the time. So, but there were times, when this was an issue and I didn't understand it because I didn't know where it was coming from. So until we talked about it years later, I was just always the type that I was like, well, I know she has some issues, and when she's ready to discuss them, she'll discuss them with me. So I didn't necessarily take it to her heart, but it did hurt a little bit, to not be able to do those things that I imagined, what it would be like when I did get married. You know what I'm saying? So, the PDA, things like that. We did those, but I didn't realize then how much of an effort it took for you to do those things. To kiss me and to walk in public and hold hands. Because in my mind I thought that's what every woman wanted. Right. But then I, had to realize you're not every woman.
I don't think that I had a full understanding either of, like, for me, it was the way that I explained it. That's just me. I have more testosterone than the average woman. I don't know. That was my thing. That's why I don't like physical touch. I don't. And it took years of learning about trauma and learning about people who had been sexually abused. And honestly, I talked about the date rape. I had been abused as a child, and that came back to me. I had repressed those things, and when it came back in an overwhelming flood of everything, and it occurred over the course of several years, and
Right.
all of that came back to me at once. And so, okay, now I'm at a point of, well, I guess that's why I don't like this, I don't like that, but I still didn't know what to do, about it,
yeah.
right? And so over time, especially with the kids as they got older, I tried to hide it more, and so that thinking and hoping that y'all weren't, feeling the rejection or whatnot, but it's taken a long time for me to fully understand and to fully get to a point to where I'm good now.
Yeah.
And now you can't get away from me.
Yep.
I stay right up under you.
Can't keep this chick off with me, y'all.
Stupid.
I love it.
Stupid.
But the thing about it is, like, as far as like, I had to just I learned to accept that I married you, you had issues, I had issues, and we had to just hang in there because I wanted to make us work. So even though that there were times that I felt rejected, there were times I was just like, well, this just is what it is. So times when we did have sex and I didn't get the touch and sometimes I felt like a two-bit whore, but sometimes I still was able to hold you, so I mean it wasn't bad, but there again it's like you have this idea of things in your head,
Right,
and how things should be, and then when you don't get them how they should be in your head, you either make adjustments or you take it as this flat out rejection, which I didn't take it as flat out rejection. I just took it as, well, I need to make an adjustment because, I'm dealing with a woman who has a lot of issues that, she's in there. And at the time, you were in the process of working on it. Mm-hmm. So I knew that, too. And you did explain to me things happen over the years throughout time. And, it took me a while for me to correlate and say, okay, well, that's why she does this and that's why she does that. I had to grow in myself and seek counsel myself to get that understanding. I
think that it was probably made worse by the fact that I'm not a touchy-feely person. Mm-hmm. So just in general, I'm not a touchy-feely person. I don't like when, you're in conversation with someone and they reach up and I don't like that.
Put the hand on your shoulder.
Right. I don't like that just in general. Mm-hmm. So I think that it was made worse with the other stuff. But like I said, now it's different.
Yeah, we worked through it and now it's all good.
You said that already.
It's all good.
You said it already.
It is all good. Did I say it was all good? All right. We found an article on marriage.com called 5 Unexpected Ways to Solve Communication Problems in Your Marriage. We felt they were pretty interesting and worth sharing with y'all.
Number 1, the talking stick. Choose an object or a stick, doesn't have to be a stick, just something, and set a timer. They suggested 5 to 10 minutes. To me, 5 to 10 minutes is a long time for one person, but whatever works for you.
Yep.
And while the timer is going, one person holds the object or the stick and they talk, and the other person listens. no interruptions, you just listen. Timer goes off, you pass the stick, and it's the other person's time to talk.
That sounds like it can work.
Yep, everybody is heard.
But you got to listen.
Yep, everybody gets a chance.
Yep. All right, number 2. Ask each other questions. Take turns asking and answering questions with your partner. The questions can be general or related to specific situations. So just, find some random questions to ask them. That's how you get to know each other better.
Or if you have, remember we had the What If book?
Yeah.
And sometimes we would, when we were traveling especially, we'd go through those. We also... We have the toilet tag.
Oh yeah, the toilet
tag book.
Yeah, that kind of got just crazy to me, but
it's too much work.
That ain't too much work. It just got the questions were just mundane. Like
some of them were really odd.
Really odd. Like I can't even think of how crazy they were.
But it's interesting and it's fun to answer those questions and compare your answers. And there's also some apps that we have played around with from time to time that have the same purpose.
Like when we did the video, the
10 questions.
And, just getting the different responses.
Yep. All right, number 3, practice mirroring each other's words. During a conversation, one spouse speaks and the other one actively listens. When that spouse is done speaking, the one who's listening repeats what was heard or mirrors what was said.
Okay, see, the way my ADHD set up, that exercise ain't gonna work.
Well, I would just say shorter phrases for you.
Yeah. They definitely got to be short.
Yeah, we would say. But that's just a way to make sure that you hear what your partner is saying and you're able to then provide an answer or a response if necessary based on making sure you've heard correctly what was said.
Yep. Number 4, turn off your phone. To be fully present with your partner, select specific times to turn phones off in an effort to give each other full attention. Can we do that?
We
can do. I mean, like when we traveling.
Yeah.
I got my,
You're driving.
I'm driving. You hit your phone a little bit and then we'll start talking. But it helps. Like we share stuff, Facebook posts or something like that we've seen, and we'll talk about those things.
Right.
And we put how we feel about it.
Right. I don't think it's a problem with us because I feel like if I need you to put the phone down, I'll ask you to put the phone down, and vice versa. Yeah. If it's something that we seriously need to speak about, I think that we'll do that. And like you said, the times when we're in the car, even when we are engaged in a conversation, then we don't have them. So I don't know that, specifying a specific time, but for some that might be a good idea so that time is dedicated. Yeah. Specifically for
maybe like you do with the students in class, like put the phone in the basket, and y'all go into another room and have a conversation. That might be good.
Yep. All right, and number 5, write each other a letter. Writing a letter is a good way to have time to plan what you want to say and communicate with your partner. When reading a letter from your partner, make sure to give it the same amount of attention and focus that you would give if you were talking to your partner.
I can say that this has really helped me throughout our entire marriage because, I just get jumbled up in my words as far as talking. So, we've got letters that we've sent each other and communicated to each other. And that has been helpful for me as far as getting out everything that I want to get out.
Yeah. Both of us, we write with that's words. That's how we communicate. And it, for me, it gives me the opportunity, like you said, I can get what I need to say out of my brain and without the emotion of a conversation. And then, too, I can make sure I don't forget anything that needs to be be said. And that has been the second benefit to that is being able to look back at those words.
Yep.
And I know that that's
letters
something that is very valuable to me.
Look back at them and read them and be like, man, this was 10 years ago. Look what you said.
I carry.
You sent me an email that I sent you.
Yep.
A year ago, you sent it to me, and it was like early in the years. Mm-hmm. And it was touching reading that.
It was after I started to remember some of the stuff that I had gone through.
Yeah.
That you sent me that. And like I have one that I carry with me in my purse.
Oh, you do?
Mm-hmm. So that's another benefit of that, is to be able to look back at those words and to feel those feelings again.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Now let's discuss it. All right. Let's discuss the topic. Comes from a YouTube video where a wife calls into the show to get some financial advice from the host.
On the call, she shares that after spending $112,000 on their wedding, her husband gets laid off from his job shortly after they returned from their honeymoon. $112,000.
God dang.
$112,000.
All right. According to the call, the wife came into the marriage with $40,000 in college debt and a property that she owns in another state that is rental property. The property brings in about $2,000 a month after mortgage is paid. She makes about $70,000 a year herself.
Okay. The husband owns 2 properties, including the one that they live in together. He has about $392,000 in stocks and bonds, and he was making about $200,000 per year. So her immediate fix was for him to, she wanted him to liquidate
his stocks
some of his stocks and bonds and use that money. I think they had a mortgage on both properties that he owned. And then she seemed very unwilling to give up her
property. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I almost think that's more of a safety net for her.
Yes.
Maybe
exactly.
she feels like, but while she's concerned about that, we cannot gloss over
the $112,000 on a damn wedding.
On a wedding. On a wedding?
Well, apparently they do that. But,
and as much as we love and are here promoting relationship, people do divorce.
Yeah.
Could you imagine?
Man, when we bought our first house was $84,000.
Yep. They could have had a wedding and a half.
They could have had a wedding and 2 cars. What they spent on the wedding.
112. What? What does that? And so I think that this shows that maybe we are poor people.
Right.
Because there's nothing in my mind that I can think. I mean, the wedding of my dreams, I don't think would add up to $112,000. No.
Now,
I don't know if they had, I think they had real angels singing as she walked down the aisle, because it's $112,000.
Yeah.
I think that they didn't have very good reception food, because good reception food does not cost $112,000.
They must have had.
They had the food where it's the big plate
in the world.
They had the big plate and then those little artistic pieces of morsels of food with sauce sprinkled on the plate.
One friend where we went to, and they had the fish. I just remember the fish laying up there. It was a big old fish. I don't know what kind of fish it was, but I remember you could cut out pieces of the fish, and the eyes were sitting up there looking at me. And I was like, God,
We're just digging in the
that
fact.
was
I
very
bet that
towards
wasn't
me.
$112,000.
$112,000. No,
I mean, what do you have? Do you have a personal assistant for each table?
That must have included.
What?
They had to include it. They had to include gifts for everybody. Maybe they went somewhere and they flew everybody there.
Maybe I don't.
I just.
And we do live in the Southeast, so the cost of living is not what it is in other areas. So maybe this is what. But I just cannot wrap my head around how do you sit and plan. Knowingly spend it. That blows my mind.
Yeah.
But anywho, so now he's lost his job, and really though, okay, so their combined annual salary is $270. The fact that they thought it smart, I'm sorry.
That's what I can't get past. They ain't paying paying, and now you got to pay that off, which I mean feasibly. She got her salary and the $2,000 a month that she's bringing in on the rental property. That feasibly could knock that down. I mean, but
now
I would assume that her husband making $200,000 a year was some type of executive or something, or some type of had some type of technical field or a CEO somewhere in that realm of. So I'm sure he's not like.
Well, it depends. It depends on where they live.
That's true.
It depends on.
And they had to happen to move or something for him to.
Well, if they live somewhere out west where the cost of living is higher, then the income is also
that's
also
that's
higher.
True too. That's true.
So this is my thing, though. This was my takeaway from all of this, and we do have the video with an extended conversation about this. But this is my takeaway. For one. If you decide to have a $112,000 wedding, please invite us.
I'm telling you.
Because I would like to see it.
I want to see what y'all do with $112,000 worth of wedding going on.
Right. For two, the fact that she called in without him, that spoke volumes to me. Because this is an issue now for both of you.
Yes.
And you came in with debt, and he has money and savings and all this stuff set aside. So, of course, some people are going to think, well, that's his. Why should he blah, blah, blah.
Right.
But you're married now.
Right.
You're married now. So you have all of that together. And he should have been on that call with her.
Yeah, he should have. He really should have. But it seems to me like she was kind of sneaking behind his back to try to see if she can get somebody on her side.
Right.
Or,
she wanted somebody to tell her, don't get rid of your property.
Property and this, that, and other. But y'all married to each other now.
Right.
So it's time that you can't think about yourselves. You have to think about, it's y'all's wedding.
Right.
Both of y'all got married.
Right.
Both of y'all said I do.
And if he is thinking, well, just do what you want to do.
Yep.
And didn't have a part in it, well then, that's not smart either.
Even if y'all decided, what's that, $56,000, just as both of them sharing half of the cost, but I mean,
that's ridiculous.
I don't even understand $56,000.
Unless you are a celebrity, not a big celebrity, because then this would be piddly.
Yeah.
That just doesn't, I don't know. To each his own, but.
They must have rented out an entire hotel for the weekend.
I don't know what they did, but
that's what they did.
When we renew our vows, I promise you, it will be nowhere near $112,000.
Here.
All right, well that's it. Make sure you go to YouTube, search the Beyond I Do podcast to find our channel to hear more about this $112,000 wedding.
And look for the Tiffany blue picture with the couple holding hands. That's us. Make sure that's the description you're looking for when you're looking for the YouTube channel. Because they got us hitting right now. Just letting y'all know that, okay?
All right. Thank you so much for joining us for episode 9 of the Beyond I Do podcast.
Please join us next time for episode 10 as we talk about growing older. Wow.
In the meantime, Please make sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram and comment and let us know your thoughts about wedding cost and marriage debt. Also, make sure to join us for more conversation about the $112,000 wedding on our YouTube channel.
Until next time, we will holler at y'all.